Good day, and welcome again to What Are You Gonna Do with That Lemon? Sandra Renee Stanley Ministries, and I'm really excited today. We got a lot going on in our community, and what we're talking about things that people aren't talking about in the community, and educating our community on today. I'm very excited about this young lady, this boss lady, this entrepreneur lady that has built up a really good business, and she has people up under her with real estate. So if you're looking to purchase a home, she's one that I always highly recommend, Miss Paula Sanders.
Thank you, Miss Sandra. I appreciate you.
Yes. And before I let you introduce your business, what I want you to share with us, Miss Paula, is I am a big advocate for ownership. And I believe that our people are lacking in that, especially our young people. And sometimes we don't prepare. It's fortunate that my mother, Paula, she left us a house, and that group, that era, they left legacies for their children. So my mother made sure all of us, the three of us, had a home. Now they were raggedy little houses, but they were a house, and I had an opportunity to grow my capital as I lived in my home that my mother gave me, so I could be able to just purchase. I never bought a brand new home, but I was able to purchase other real estate. So, but I want to be able to share a little bit about, because in Fort Worth, we were just talking about that. So before I get too far into the lemon, I'm gonna pass the lemon to you.
Okay.
And then I want you to share with us some of the things we were talking about.
Well, I think, I'm interested that you said, you talked about, your mom left you a home and, for you and your siblings, and you were able to, to use it to leverage to create additional wealth and buy additional properties. The problem that we're having now, I think, a little elephant in the room, if you will, is the affordability piece, right? Right now, we are just in an era of just hyperinflation, and everything is expensive. And you've seen home prices in North Texas, in our area, they've just skyrocketed in the last, 5 to 7 years. So that affordability piece is something that, is an elephant in the room that needs to be, talked about. So many, years ago, you could buy a great starter home, for 100,000, 90,000, 150, 120, but those days are gone. And so those are challenges to young people. And so, I always recommend, people start with perhaps a starter home. But we have those challenges now because, you mentioned that the home was, it wasn't all that you desired. You said it was just how did you say it?
What did I say? I said it's a starter home. I said it was a raggedy little house.
Yeah, it was
That's
a raggedy
house.
And so many times, our people don't want to start, right? We live in a world now where people want to start, where their parents ended, and so.
Be glorified. It's glorified. Kind of glorified elegance.
Yes. And so, if we're gonna, start getting back to, people buying, we got to fall back in love with starter homes, right? And a starter home, could be a home that you live in for 5 to 10 years, right? It's not going to have everything that you need, and it may not be in your most desired location, but it's about, getting what you can afford now. And so many people, they'd rather rent than get what they can afford,
And they stay stuck in that rental thing.
And then what happens is eventually you tap out. You tap out in the rental thing, and I meet, people, they're at the top of their, if you will, their earning potential, right? They're not going back to school. They're not going to get another skill, and then you tap out. And so the ideal is to buy, young, when you can, and get what you can afford. But so many people, again, they don't want that. But another thing I see a lot of families doing too, it is pooling their resources together.
Oh, yeah.
And that's something that, that those are some strategies that we could employ, during, this season. I had a mom and her 2 daughters, they purchased a home. Sometimes you can have, sisters purchase a home, cousins and But it's just, the affordability piece is something that it's the elephant in the room that we have to deal with. And so, but there's ways to navigate that.
Okay, because we went right in. So tell us the name of your company and give us a little background on you,
Okay.
Paula, because I know you have helped me many times with resources, and I think you've helped at least two people I referred you to get their home. So
Yeah.
tell us about it.
Well, my name is Paula Sanders. I'm a native of Fort Worth, born and raised here in Fort Worth, raised in Poly, Technic Heights. I've been a realtor now for 8 years, and it's been a great run. The name of I have a team, and the name of my team is the Sanders Network Group, and we're brokered by EXP. And I just really enjoy helping people reach their goals. Whether they're looking for an existing home, whether they want a new home, whether they're upgrading, whether they need a lease, I just like to serve. So in whatever capacity, that's what I do, and I enjoy it. And I've been really blessed these years. God has allowed me to help quite a few people, and I enjoy it.
Oh, good. I've been talking to some of our young people in the Como community because it was such a fluent with this being Juneteenth. The history is so rich here with our forefathers, and my grandmother moved to Como from when they had the Great Flood of Fort Worth, and a lot of people moved, they got flooded there to Como, and that's when they came here. But she purchased a house, my grandmother Molly purchased a house, and then my mother purchased a house in Como, and that's kind of how it went. So I'm talking to these young people that have family in Como, that they know the people in Como. Why don't you talk to these older people, even like me, if my children want to sell, if something happens to me, if they want to sell the properties, come back home. That's what you're talking about, a starter home. But even some of those people jumped off and got their dream homes. Like my son is in California, he's in Bakersfield, he's a professional, him and his wife, so they have their nice, beautiful home. And now as he's getting ready to prepare for retirement, I'm trying to get him to come back home. We have some people coming back to Como as they retire. So I think that's an option too. But let's talk about a young person preparing, because we talked about that earlier about like your credit. So how can a person, when a realtor like you, when they come to you, and you and I have talked about, when they come to you, you want the letter, you want them approved, you want them ready. Before you start talking to a realtor, let's be ready. So how does a person get ready?
Well, but let's backpack. As a realtor, I do help you get ready, right? As a realtor, if you come to me and your credit is not right, we'll have resources to refer you to help you to get ready. But the main thing, you have to concentrate on is the income, right? Do you have enough income? In today's market, the average home price now in, Fort Worth is probably about $250, $275. It's just really hard to get anything under $200. And so with that, you're looking at a mortgage over $2,000 now. So my biggest thing for a person is making sure that they have the income. When I first became a realtor, you could help someone making $40,000 all year, all day. It's getting increasingly harder to help people, under 40,000, and largely because they don't want that starter home, and they don't want to be able to get what they can afford. But my biggest concern is your income, right? You're oftentimes, with the in the rental and with rent, we get to use about half of our monthly income. So let's say that a family's income is $4,000 a month, right? You're only going to be able to use $2,000 of that towards debt. So my whole thing is to make sure that you're going to be able to financially afford, a mortgage. Those times where you have mortgages $1,200, $1,500, $1,700, those days are over. Those are over. And so, they can happen, but you'd have to have a really big down payment, and you'd have to be willing to, live in a, in an older area. But again, it's all about the income. The next thing we're going to be looking at is your credit. Lenders now are starting about 580 and above. The average person cannot get a home at 580, and they're going to need a 620. So I recommend the 620. After we have that, then we want to look at your savings. There are a number of grants and programs, down payment assistance, that buyers can get, and it doesn't matter if you're a first-time home buyer or second-time home buyer. So, there are all kind of resources for buyers, and so we look into some of those because you'll need some savings. You'll need a down payment. So if you don't have your down payment, we can look at those programs. But even if you are going to get one of those down payment assistance or you're going to use one of those grants, there's still closing costs associated with the home. So I recommend, even if you're going to use those programs, you're going to still need to have $3,000 to $5,000 in savings. So I'm going to be looking at your income.
Is that enough? Is
your credit and your
$3,000?
That's
if you had a target, if
you're going to use one of those programs. Okay. If you're going to use one of those programs, oftentimes, $3,000 to $5,000 can be sufficient if you're getting a starter home, right? Because in this period, you can often negotiate with the seller to get some help in closing costs. But typically, that's enough if you're going to do one of those programs. If you're not going to use one of those programs, then of course you're going to have more. Typically, the average down payment for most families is going to be 3.5%. So you look at the average, let's say a $300,000 home, that's going to be, oh, my math teacher wouldn't be happy with me, but that'd be about, a little less than $10,000. That'd be about a little over $9,000, and then you have closing costs. Closing costs are another, about 2% of the price of the home. So you're looking at another, about $6,000. So together you're looking about, almost $17,000, for a $300,000 home. And that's why, again, grants and programs that take care of those down payments, those are the things that a lot of families and buyers should tap into. Some of them are geared toward location, some of them are geared towards your profession, and then some of them have no income limits. There are grants out there. I don't care if you make 40, 80, 120,000. There are grants that have no income limit, but sometimes they are geographical limits on it. So,
and the realtor helps them get those grants, pushes
what happens is, as a realtor, I want to be a one-stop shop. So once I get someone ready to buy a home, if you're not quite mortgage ready and you need help with your credit, I'm going to have resources to recommend in the community to help you, credit worthy. And so in terms of helping you with the grants, I can refer you to lenders that may be able to, evaluate, because the thing about it is every lender is not the same. And so you want to, get a lender that has a history of helping grants and have those kind of, programs. So really, I don't really require you to be all the way ready, right? Because that's part of my job is to walk you through that journey. And so the biggest thing is, do you have the income?
So what is interest rate right now going around? Before COVID, I know it was maybe about 4%.
they're a little. They're in the high sixes right now, a little under 7. So, they are, but even they're higher than what we saw in COVID, but they're kind of a little bit they're about normal, right? A lot of times when we bought our homes, we were in the 5s and 6s. But the thing is too, but there's ways to, in every season, there's ways to win, right? And so there's blessings in every season. So you don't have to pay market rate. Luckily, my buyers, the way that I, structure my business, I have few buyers paying market rate. So we look for concessions from the seller, and we look for closing costs, and we look for, ways to make it more affordable. And so, so those are, so I like a sale, Miss Sandra, right? If I go in the store, the first thing I'm going to do is look for the sale. So with my clients, I try to find strategic ways to help them not pay market rate. And so that's I think that's one of my strengths as a realtor, looking for ways to help people. And like I said, who does not like a sale?
We all want a sale, don't we?
So
yes.
Those are the things that I try to do.
So do you do workshops and things like that to help people? I know your organization is pretty big now. I know you work a lot with your realtors that's under you to develop them. So, and then we want to make sure we get your information. If somebody's looking for a home, we're going to make sure that we post her link on this broadcast.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, part of, I'm kind of in a switching mode. I'll tell you, Miss.
I think this is the year of shifting.
Yeah, it's kind of like a shift. For years, I really prided myself on helping realtors launch, their career. But here in recent years, as I've gotten more on my plate, I've had to kind of shift and make sure that I can handle everything on my plate. So I've kind of shifted my focus and not necessarily starting realtors, but more so realtors that have already started but need a little help. They've kind of gotten lost.
Like a mentorship.
Exactly. And so new agents are not my target anymore. I want to help those agents that have started, but they haven't figured it out. Do you understand what I'm saying? They've kind of lost their way. They haven't been able to take their business to the next level. So because real estate is a challenging field with such with a high turnover rate, I've had to kind of shuffle so that I make sure that I'm investing my time wisely, if you will. Because oftentimes you invest in places where there's no fruit. Right, and I've done that, and so I've had to realize where my best fit.
No fruit and no growth.
Yes, but wasted time.
Oh. I know you help so many people that are young realtors, but then also when we go back, we're going back and forth with, and I think you've given us enough tools for anyone in the audience that's preparing to buy a home. So you've told us how we need to get our credit together. You told us that we need to, it needs to be affordable and be comfortable accepting just what you can get, with a starter home. Starter homes are okay, and then it's so much, it's an investment also, right? So once you get a starter home, you pay for it. If it's paid for, you can use it for capital, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so people you have to think about those things that starter homes can be capital also to reinvest, and then you got some leverage there, right? And then the credits, it's not that hard getting out. I think people just really think it's hard for them to straighten their credit out, because people like you said, you have people, and some people I've talked to, it's really simple stuff.
Just about being consistent.
Yeah.
Right. Because creditors want to know that they can trust you with this loan. So they just need to see you a history of being consistent. And kind of like you said, oftentimes it's just about families demonstrating to lenders that I can be responsible. So that's why they want you to have, active accounts, right? So that they can see how you're gonna perform, because past behavior predicts future behavior. That's kind of how the lending industry, and that's why credit is such a concern. And so you have to demonstrate. And so you have to have demonstrated that you can be responsible, through a car note, credit cards, but yeah. So
okay, I heard you say you need to have active accounts so they can see your credit history. So if I'm thinking I'm doing good because I paid off all my bills, but I'm ready to buy a house and they've been paid out for a couple of years, then I might need to open up an account and just show some history, or what?
Yeah, you do. I've had families over the years I've recommended. You remember Finger Hut? Your grandma may have used to.
Finger Hut.
Finger Hut has an excellent credit building program. And so I've had families that have gotten an account at Finger Hut for a year or two and established some credit, and then they were able to purchase. So you got to be concerned about that debt to income ratio, because that's another barrier that prevents some families from buying a home. They have too much debt. So you want to make sure that if you do take on debt, you don't take on too much. So you want to, and that's where, talking to a realtor, one of the things I do is provide free consultations. And during that consultation, I'm going to look at your credit, I'm going to look at your income, all of your sources of income, and then we're going to be able to see, can we create a plan and what's needed, and where could you possibly live? Because those are the options that people need to, they need to know, where could I possibly live? Yeah.
So when they do their research on, that's another good question. So if they do their research, somebody that's new to the community, on what are good things to look for in that community? What are the good things to look for?
Well, everybody's situation is different, and so for me as a realtor, I'm going to find out what's important to you. Some people are motivated by schools if they have children. Some people are motivated by their proximity to their job. Sometimes people are interested in things that, like their life outside of, they may, like, I've had people, they might want to be close to their church or their place of worship. So my job is to find out what's important to you. Sometimes people want to be around a lot of amenities, shopping and things like that. So my thing is to find out what's important to you, and then I'll help you explore the options, whether it's 4 neighborhoods or 5 neighborhoods. But my thing is, I want to be able to show you all the options that you could potentially live, and I'm going to be able to let you see the pros and cons of each. So that's one of the things I really pride myself, because I also like options, Miss Sandra. I don't like to be, nobody wants to be pigeonholed. So I want to let my people know the possibilities.
Yeah.
The possibilities.
I like that too, because I know, for me, I don't like driving in tension and traffic, so I would never go up north 35 if I need to come back down this way.
Yeah.
So the traffic, and I think Crowley's getting a little crowded that way.
That's
That
all
way.
over
30.
Fort Worth.
Yeah. Because I was at, Mayor Maddie was talking about Fort Worth is one of the largest growing and most favorable communities to move to.
Yeah, it's one of the top 10 in the nation right now. A lot of people are moving here. A lot of people are moving here.
And then my ladies coming out of my program, once they graduate, we're having a hard time finding them affordable housing, because they're, like you say, their income is very low, and then they might have backgrounds, so that's another option. So you got all these things, even just for rental. Yeah. But we always inspire them not to still continue to save your money. We taught them how to save money. Now you got your money to get in an apartment. Now save your money to get in a home. And we got programs like Habitat and things like that for people in our community. And with them, they have a vetting process. Yeah. So and some of the same, all the stuff you said, all the things you said, same thing that applies to Habitat for those people. So I know it's a way for people to get their homes, and we want to be able to make sure they get their homes. So Paula, what else do you want to add before we close out? You want anything you feel like we left out?
No, I just like to help, right? I think that a lot of people, they never talk to a realtor. They never, see the options. And so many people waste years of renting not knowing that they could afford. So I just encourage people just to talk. Right, it's a consultation is free, but it always starts with a conversation. Every success story, every journey to home ownership always begins with a conversation. So I just encourage people to, to have a free consultation. I do phone consultations every day, all day. They normally take 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes if I get long-winded and we really start talking. But it's something you can do relatively fast to know, is home ownership, is that something that I can tackle? And then we could, explore different, resources. Like I said, I think in the years to come, a lot of families and people may need to consider partnering up.
Yeah.
Right?
If we can get along and live together, and build that one person up, and you get a home, I get a home, but working together as a family. Because that's in other countries. You see that in other countries.
Yes.
They build each other up and help that person go to the next level.
Exactly.
And as they have come here, we see them doing that. Some of the other cultures, they do that.
They really do.
So we just enjoyed you, Paula, today. So thank you so much for talking about that lemon. That lemon is affordable housing, and also buying your house, being prepared to buy your house. So we've given you a lot of good tips, and you can reach out to Miss Paula. We're going to make sure she leaves her information when you're ready to get prepared to buy that home or to buy that home. She's going to be available. And we thank you. I want you to subscribe to my channel, Sandra Renee Stanley Ministries. Please subscribe. And then also watch. We have some very good, interesting topics that they're not talking about, that people are not talking about. We can have a free, safe zone here. So I thank you, and I look forward to reaching back out to you. Now, Paula, how do we get in touch with you?
Okay, very good question. Right, the best way to contact me is directly on my phone, right? My number is 817-938-8828. Again, that's 817-938-8828. You can call me throughout normal business hours. I take phone calls up to about 7 o'clock. And if I don't answer, please text. But the best way is to just always call me directly.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you for having me.